The Democrats in the Senate decided they were going to filibuster a bill to defund Planned Parenthood, and therefore, even though it passed by 53 votes, it didn't have the 60 votes necessary to invoke cloture. So the battle is still on about whether the taxpayers of America should give $528 million a year to this organization. Well, joining us from Capitol Hill is Oklahoma Senator James Lankford. He co-authored the bill to defund Planned Parenthood. And Senator, thank you for being with us.
Glad to be with you.
Explain to us why the Republicans who now have control of the Senate will allow this filibuster to take place. That's what the Democrats said. We will filibuster and we will hold up all legislation. Tell us about that, will you?
Yeah, it's interesting, the rules that are different between the House and the Senate. And Americans kind of innately know that the two bodies run very different. But the House has 435 members. If you have 218, that's the majority, just a simple majority. You can do anything. In the Senate, you have to have 60 people to agree to vote on something. So though it only takes 51 to pass it, 60 people have to agree to debate it. And so it slows the process down dramatically. What happened yesterday is Democrats in a block just said, no, we're not going to debate this. We don't want to discuss Planned Parenthood and don't want to bring it up. So it would have been simple to be able to pass it if we'd actually been able to get past the debate platform of it. But yesterday we're unable to get past it. They did what you mentioned correctly, a cloture vote, which is a type of filibuster to keep from debating it.
Are you going to tag your initiative to a highway bill or some other funding bill?
That is possible in the days ahead. All of our appropriations bills are still yet to come to the floor. They have been filibustering each one of those as well, trying to block them. They want to see us increase spending. We have said there's a giant debt hanging over the nation. We can't keep increasing spending. And so we're trying to keep spending static where it is. It's not going down, but it's not going up as well. And they've said no, they don't want to do that. So being all that said, that means the appropriations bills still have to be done. There's another moment to still negotiate this issue of Planned Parenthood funding.
Isn't there some sense of horror in the Democratic Party over what was shown in those videos about how Planned Parenthood is selling body parts? It is so repulsive. Aren't they shocked by it? You must have some colleagues in the Senate who are Democrats.
Privately, they'll say they're horrified by it or they're disturbed by it, but then they'll come back and they just can't admit that that's a life ever. They really determine life based on when they can see that child and when that child is breathing, not when that child is in the womb. And they can't seem to cross the threshold of if it has 10 toes and 10 fingers, its heart is beating, it has a liver and lungs and kidneys and a brain, it has a smile and sucks its thumb. That looks like a baby to me. But they would say, no, it's not a real baby until it comes out of the womb and is actually breathing. And I just absolutely don't get that. What I keep reinforcing over and over again, if Planned Parenthood was harvesting human organs for sale, that means they must have come out of a human child. And so that had to always be a human. And the only difference between that baby in the womb and you and I is time. That's it. And so just because they're younger doesn't mean they're not a human.
Well, you know, the whole deal that Hillary Clinton is saying, but Planned Parenthood has been at the forefront of women's health, which is just a lot of nonsense. But nevertheless, your bill specifically gives funding to community clinics and every other organization that deals with women's health. It just defunds Planned Parenthood. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. We want to be very, very careful with this because there has been the argument that Planned Parenthood is all about women's health. Planned Parenthood is actually the single largest provider of abortion in the entire country. They're the largest abortion provider, but they'll also say we do things like referrals to women's health. Now, they don't actually do the women's health. They refer them to another clinic. We said, why would we have money go to the group that refers? Why don't we actually send it to the actual caretakers? So that is the community health centers. For instance, Planned Parenthood talks about mammograms all the time, that they actually refer people to mammograms, but they don't do any. None of their facilities actually are licensed to do mammograms. They just refer to others. So we've said, why don't we send the money to the place that actually does the mammogram than the actual entity, this clinic that's just referring, when really they're an abortion clinic more than anything else.
You know, Margaret Sanger was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and a simple reading of her, what she wrote is just horrifying. She wanted to sterilize American blacks. She wanted to sterilize Protestant Christians. She wanted to sterilize Southern Europeans. And that's what Planned Parenthood, it wasn't for women's health, it was for sterilization of the unfit. Can't you bring some of that out in these debates?
We can, actually. The biggest issue that we want to be able to talk about is what's happening right now in Planned Parenthood, and that is 325,000 abortions a year. That as the abortion rate continues, thankfully, to go down as a country, it continues to go up in Planned Parenthood. And if you want to talk about adoptions versus Planned Parenthood versus abortions, when mothers come in, they're sent to abortion, not to adoption. And they'll say that they would refer someone to adoption, but their rate is so incredibly low, it's tiny, the number of folks that actually go to adoption there. So when you go into a Planned Parenthood, they're going to steer towards the greatest profit for them, that is abortion, and then harvesting those baby parts to be able to sell them.
If the House defunds, which I'm sure they will do, what does the Senate do? I mean, what's the procedure? Is there a strategy you have that might be able to win the day on this?
We are actually running that strategy. This is nothing new for the House and the Senate to be able to fight through the issues of funding on Planned Parenthood. So this is something we already have a long-term look at, both in the funding mechanisms, which you're right. The spending bills all originate in the House, and then we'll have the final negotiation in the Senate. So that is a major aspect of it. And then we also have another bill coming up in the fall that deals with late-term abortions. The United States is one of 7 countries in the world that still allows elective abortions at 5 months of gestation. We're within this elite group like China and Vietnam and North Korea that also allow abortions at 5 months. We're trying to also get rid of that as well. That will also come up this fall. So there are multiple different pushes that we have as we continue to challenge Americans again to look inside the womb. That is a life that's inside the womb. And to continue to say it's not, ignores the obvious realities. And these Planned Parenthood videos have actually continued to put that out in front of the Americans again to have to say, think about this. Is this really who we are as a country?
Well, Senator, thank you for your fight, and may the Lord be with you. All right. God bless you.
Thank you. May the Lord be with us all in this one. This is a very difficult issue. Yeah.
It sure is. Terry, it's astounding that the Democrats stand and see those horrible pictures, and yet they take a stand for it. They look like this is some kind of a moral crusade. It's outrageous. And, you know, I heard the former majority leader of the House saying, well, the Republicans have lost their moral compass because they want to take money away from Planned Parenthood. I mean, it's turned upside down. It's crazy.
What's good is bad, and what's bad appears to be good. You know, the thing is, it's illegal, is it not? I mean, they've made profits selling body parts.
Oh,
They're
yes.
not. I mean, what's the question?
The Planned Parenthood, the American Center for Law and Justice, now has a lawsuit against them. A whistleblower blew the whistle. They were triple billing the federal government for those procedures, which were legal. Triple billing. And the amount of money I believe they've got in the kitty in California is about $1 billion. They are absolutely loaded with money. They are just warring, and to think that they want to get $528 million of money out of my pocket, in your pocket, and every one of the people in this audience to fund the stuff they do. It is outrageous. But the Democrats are locked in for this. And if there is an election issue coming up, this should be right at the top of the list. Terry?
And we really need to pray that God would awaken the conscience of America, because it's so seared. I don't understand.
It's one thing, you know, we said we won't give any, the Hyde Amendment, we won't give any money for federal money for abortions. Okay, that's cool. But we are. We are.
We are.